Next up, we have Swellow, easily one of the best early game birds, as fans of Ruby and Sapphire and their remakes will remember it fondly. Fans of the anime will also recall the journey of Ash's Talo evolving into one of his best Pokemon. Today, we'll be examining if Swellow swooped in and swept up the competitive scene. And so, we ask, how good was Swellow actually? And in this video, we'll be going over these competitive formats. Swellow wasn't nearly strong enough to establish itself as a legitimate part of Gen 3 OU. However, it was far too fast and strong to be allowed in UU. Now you would think it was doomed to languish in the not good enough section of Borderline forever, and for the most part, that was true. Except for one very specific set, which was one of the most unique in all of Pokemon. It absolutely required Magneton support, as it was otherwise completely ruined by Skarmory, but plenty of other Pokemon needed it as well, so this was far from the most strenuous requirement. Anyway, you might be thinking, well, what's so special about passing substitutes and pinchberry boosts? Can't better Pokemon like Zapdos and Jolteon do that as well? Yes, they certainly can, but what they lacked that Swellow had was Endeavor. With this move, Swellow didn't just support its teammates through Baton Pass. By weakening itself with Substitute, it would also put itself in a position where its Endeavor would bring the opponent to equally low health, allowing Swellow's teammates to pick off otherwise imposing walls like Swampert and Suicune. Especially these two, as they often carried Roar, and would attempt to foil Swellow's sub-pass attempts with it, only to be weakened and put in range of monsters like Dragon Dance Tyranitar. In addition, Swellow's immense speed stat and decent attack stat, alongside hidden power fighting, meant it was itself an excellent check to DD Tar. Its huge speed also meant it could emergency check just about anything with its fast Endeavor, even Starmie, who was already considered blazing fast. The interesting traits didn't stop there though. Swellow didn't use just any old Pinchberry, it used Starfberry. For those unfamiliar, since it's rather obscure, Starfberry boosts a random stat as opposed to the specific attack, special attack, and speed of the common Lychee, Pitaya, and Select berries. However, instead of the usual +1 that those berries provided, Starf provided a +2 boost. This meant nobody knew what boost Swellow was going to pass, not even its trainer, until it subbed down to 25% HP. Once the boost was activated, an attack boost, which was essentially a Swords Dance, could be passed to a Dragon Dancer, making them even more dangerous. A special attack boost made Pokemon like Suicune and Jolteon even more terrifying, and a speed boost was helpful for everything. No longer would Dugtrio outrun Tyranitar after Dance, nor would Zapdos outrun Suicune, and so on. Even defensive boosts were useful, as doubling defense or special defense provided an extra dimension to the threat level of Swellow's already offensively threatening teammates, as suddenly they'd have the game-breaking ability to take attacks they normally wouldn't, such as Tyranitar living Choice Band Metagross's Meteor Mash. Overall, Swellow wasn't the most optimal Pokemon for success in Advanced OU, but even though its niche was small, it was incredibly unique and a whole lot of fun to both use and watch in action. The 4th generation provided Swellow with some amazing gifts. First, the new Flame and Toxic Orbs meant it could automatically activate its powerful combination of Guts and Stab Facade. Second, it received U-Turn, which was an excellent move for chipping its switch in and maintaining offensive momentum for its team. Finally, Swellow was blessed with the ultimate physical flying stab, Brave Bird. Now, it was actually weaker than Facade against neutral targets, but the super effective coverage against grass and fighting types made Swellow even more of a threat, and being able to utterly slam Ghost types was excellent as well. OU was beyond its reach, but this time around Power Creep worked in Swellow's favor, as it settled into UU nicely. It was the fastest unboosted Pokemon in the tier, outrunning even the incredibly fast Sceptile and Alakazam. Technically, Electrode was faster, but that was more of a support Pokemon on Rain than an actual offensive threat. Anyway, with its massive speed and powerful, hard-to-resist stabs, Swellow threatened a huge amount of the tier. It did have some hard walls, the most prominent being Registeel, Amistar, Steelix, Regirock, and Aggron, but this is where U-Turn came in. Swellow could simply use the fact that these Pokemon were forced to switch in to counter it to bring in Dugtrio, removing these Pokemon and truly allowing Swellow to go berserk. It could also use it as an opportunity to either bring in another devastating threat like Absol or Blaziken, who appreciated the free turn to break through the opponent's defenses. Swellow made for some excellent cores no matter what it paired with. Its ability to lure in Registeel for a Dugtrio trap made it an amazing partner for something like Leafeon, while also helping itself wall break. Alternatively, Swellow's ability ability to rip through offense meant it paired well with Absol and Blaziken-esque destroyers of defensive teams, covering both sides of the spectrum. Plus, Swellow was still threatening to many defensive teams. Naturally tanky Pokemon like Arcanine and Milotic got run, and even incredibly physically bulky Pokemon like Weezing and Donphan were often 2-hit KO'd by its facade, and the purest physical wall in the tier, Tangrowth, wanted nothing to do with its Brave Bird. Being able to threaten a one-hit KO against any variant of Tier King Venusaur was invaluable as well. Swellow also flew to a whole new level of dangerous with Spike support, as it made it even easier for it to grab KOs on grounded targets while chipping its few hard counters even more quickly. It also helped that Swellow absolutely destroyed many Spike's immune Pokemon like Mismagius and Moltres. Finally, even offense wasn't always safe with Choice Scarfers and priority moves. If the opposing Pokemon was sufficiently weakened, Swellow would pick them off with Quick Attack. Now, Swellow wasn't perfect, as being Stealth Rock weak was a pain, and its immense frailty meant it wasn't taking attacks that weren't Earthquake or Shadow Ball, but this was nothing that couldn't be fixed with support from Rapid Spin or other U-turn, just like the support Swellow enjoyed from Dugtrio or big wall-breaking attackers. Overall, thanks to its amazing blend of speed and power, Diamond and Pearl UU Swellow was one of the metagame's premier offensive Pokemon. Power Creep knocked Swellow down hard in Gen 5, as it dropped past the new RU and landed in NU. There, however, it was amazing once again. Its only true checks were Regirock, Golem, and Caracosta. Now, Dugtrio wasn't in the tier to remove them, but Gothorita and its Grass Knot would get the job done just fine and would also ruin Alomomola, maintaining the status of Swellow's U-turn as a dangerous offensive weapon. Once again, Swellow's speed was unmatched, allowing it to threaten just about everything else, from faster offensive threats like Charizard, Jinx, Scolipede, and Superior, to tankier Pokemon like Girder, Golurk, Rotom Frost, and Rotom Fan. They and many more were overrun by Swellow. However, the lack of efficient Rapid Spin, resulting in Swellow not being able to avoid Stealth Rock damage in conjunction with Brave Bird recoil adding up fast, meant Swellow had little in the way of survivability. But it wasn't trying to sweep entire teams. It was a wrecking ball, leaving sizable holes in the opponent's defenses that its teammates could exploit. It helped quite a bit that there were several other powerful normal types in the tier, such as Tauros and Kangaskhan, which meant that after Swellow had lured in and overwhelmed their checks and counters, they would have easy cleanup. Overall, Swellow was once again a premier offensive threat in Black and White NU. Swellow returned to NU in Generation 6, but it wasn't abusing Guts-boosted facades anymore. Sure, it still could if it really wanted to, but the thing was that it didn't really want to most of the time, as it now had a new set that was generally more dangerous, the Choice Specs set. Yes, Swellow still had its rather pathetic base 50 special attack, which translated to an actual stat of 199, so not even 200. However, Gen 6 had given it an incredible new stab move, Boom Burst, whose enormous base power made up for that low special attack. There were several reasons to use this new specially oriented Swellow over its physical counterpart. First, not using a status orb meant Swellow wasn't passively being worn down, meaning that it wasn't on an automatic timer as soon as it hit the field. The opponent would have to actually hit it, rather than stalling with tactics like Protect and recovery moves. Second, Boom Burst wasn't a contact move, meaning it bypassed Rocky Helmets and Garbodor's Aftermath, removing another source of passive damage that would hinder Swellow. Third, Swellow didn't need to use Guts on a special attacking set, allowing it to use its second ability, Scrappy. This meant that ghost types were no longer immune to Boom Burst. Finally, focusing on special attack meant Swellow could opt for great coverage in Heat Wave, allowing it to obliterate would-be counters in Steelix and Ferroseed. It also meant that it was hitting other checks like Rhydon and Regirock under weaker special defense stat, allowing Swellow to potentially overpower them later in the game once they'd taken chip damage. Swellow was an incredibly fierce offensive threat. As usual, its blazing speed gave it the jump on every other unboosted Pokemon, meaning it had plenty of opportunity to blow other Pokemon away and likely to hit KO whatever the switch-in was. It also appreciated extra hazard support once again. It loved having the opponent's side of the field littered with spikes, as they would weaken its checks, and it ripped through just about every Spike's immune Pokemon. Alternatively, it could enjoy the presence of the buff Defog, as that meant it wouldn't have to deal with Stealth Rock. Either way, it was a win. Plus, Xatu was an excellent Stealth Rock blocker, making the Sneaky Pebbles even easier to deal with. Swellow was immensely easy to bring in with all the Volt Switches and U-turns available, and all of the other top tier Pokemon it scared out, proceeding to rip through the majority of the tier. It was one of the best Pokemon in ORAS NU, so not bad for a Pokemon with 20 base less special attack than Mime Jr. Swellow may be fast, but its mediocre offenses and paltry defenses make it an unattractive choice in VGC, even if it does have scrappy boom burst. However, Swellow has one impressive result to its name, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Dinesh Foxfaya Selvakumar took it to 6th place at the Sydney Regionals, in the 2016 format of all things, which is swarming with Primals and Xerneas. Dinesh had a unique team of extremely heavy hitters, such as Mega Mewtwo Y, Crawdon, and Scizor, alongside the more standard Mega Rayquaza and Thundurus. So why Swellow? Well, simple. Dinesh was looking for two things: Quick Guard and Tailwind. Dinesh's strategy revolved around giving his slow hard hitters unexpected agency. Yo, let's go agency. Quick Guard let him protect against opposing priority while spamming his own very strong priority moves, which were Scizor's Bullet Punch, Crawdon's Aqua Jet, and Rayquaza's Extreme Speed. Then Tailwind could let his Pokemon outspeed the opponent entirely, putting their power to good use. Dinesh rounded out the moveset with Endeavor, a move that was especially good when combined with Scrappy and the aforementioned priority moves, and Pluck, a non-recoil stab option to keep Swellow's Focus Sash intact and potentially give it a snack as a bonus. And special thanks to Dinesh for the info. Generation 7 gave Swellow an absolutely amazing buff. Its special attack went from a paltry base 50 to a base 75, which wouldn't be impressive under normal circumstances, but when you remember that it made that 50 special attack work thanks to Boom Burst, then the prospect of it gaining a whopping 25 more base special attack was simply terrifying. It was such a boost that Swellow shot up from NU to RU. The combination of new gen power creep and going a tier higher meant that it was no longer one of the absolute top Pokemon around, but it would take that for the higher tier placement, and it was still a threat and a half. Its main roadblock was Registeel, but other than that, its Boom Burst was incredibly difficult to switch into. Plus, even if Registeel was around, it was pretty much forced to switch into Swellow, meaning Swellow could just U-turn out and bring in another huge threat such as Salazzle. As was to be expected, Swellow's immense speed, getting the jump on nearly every other offensive threat, was invaluable in keeping opposing offensive teams in check. The only faster Pokemon was Mega Sceptile, which took a team's Mega Slot and had major opportunity cost in comparison to Mega Blastoise. Swellow's ability to check blazing fast threats like Noivern, Salazzle, Raikou, and Virizion without taking up the Mega Slot was amazing, as was the general offensive presence it exerted. Generically bulky Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Florges wouldn't be able to withstand the sheer power of Boom Burst, while many Boom Burst resists like Escavalier and Bronzong crumpled to Heat Wave, and others like Rhyperior, Gigalith, and Diancie would succumb to U-turn with Spike Sub, especially as they'd be immediately forced out by a dangerous teammate of Swellow's. It helped that Mega Blastoise was so good at removing Stealth Rock, letting Swellow U-turn around it as it pleased. Swellow had some flexibility in its last few move slots, so it could even slot in HP Grass to lure and destroy Rhyperior, while seriously denting Diancie. Swellow's frailty held it back as it meant it wouldn't contribute much of anything to its team's defensive integrity, but it still saw a high amount of usage and success thanks to its speed, power, and U-turn. As such, Swellow was a solid Pokemon in Sun and Moon RU. And that's it. So how good was Swellow actually? Well, it's mostly been a lower tier Pokemon, though it does have one of the most unique movesets in history, with its small support niche in Gen 3 OU. After that, it switched over to all-out offensive sets, where it made use of its incredible speed and powerful moves that made up for its lower attacking stats, establishing itself as one of the lower tier's most dangerous attackers. From its guts boosted facades to its specs Boom Burst, Swellow has hit hard as well as fast. Perhaps most notable is its sizable special attack boost it got in Generation 7. Now that's the kind of buff Game Freak should be doling out to older Pokemon to keep them competitively relevant. If and when Swellow returns in the 8th generation, it's likely to tear through whichever lower tier it ends up in once again. Thanks for watching everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content, and in the comments I want to know, what do you think about competitive Swellow? Would you want to buff it even more? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.